Tonight, with his poll numbers sagging, his agenda in tatters, the GOP may be shopping for a new candidate. Reports say several Republicans laying the groundwork for a possible White House run. First on that list, well, believe it or not, could be the Vice President Mike Pence. Plus, the latest on the Russia investigation, Bob Mueller's probe expanding, and this weekend, special counsel got some critical support from the man that he reports to at the Justice Department. And later, Bill de Blasio's proposals to help the MTA seek a tax here on the wealthy to pay the bill. Well, Andrew Cuomo may get what de Blasio has not: serious primary challengers. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Hope you had a great weekend. Well, today it marks another landmark in the presidency of one Donald Trump. It is his 200th day in office. Feels like a lot longer, doesn't it? And what a hectic 200 days it has been. The president spending day number 200 at his golf club in Bedminster. I'm sorry, it's a working trip here. He doesn't like it when we call it a vacation. The White House insisting on making that reference here, that it's not all goof off all the time. But some golfers did spot the president working on his handicap, as he was spotted several times this weekend hitting a little white ball. But some new reporting could make this anniversary less pleasant for the president. As his numbers continue to slide, some Republicans reportedly preparing for a 2020 race that does not include President Trump. And one of those could be the man that he shares the executive branch with, Mike Pence, the VP. Let's bring in Andrew Whitman right now with the details.
Well, Rich, as you mentioned, it's the president's disappointing numbers that's created any possible opening for a Republican to challenge their own president. So let's start with those numbers. As we reported, the president's approval rating hit a new low last week, 33%. That is easily the lowest approval rating for any president this early in his term. His numbers continue to slide among Republicans. He's still at 76% among GOP voters, but that's down 8 points in just the last 5 weeks. This weekend, Axios published findings from a Republican polling company. These are likely Republican voters in Florida, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. All states Trump won in 16 and likely would need to win in 20. In each set here, the green lines on the far left, those are Republicans with a highly favorable view of the president. Those numbers are dropping. While the red lines on the far right are rising, those are Republicans with a highly unfavorable view of Donald Trump. Not good numbers for the president. That trend providing the oxygen for this one. Some key Republicans now appearing to actively prepare for a 2020 race of their own, just in case President Trump does not run. The article specifically identified steps that Vice President Pence is taking, including the launch of his own super PAC, his appearances at GOP and other political events, meetings with key Republican donors, as well as hosting several donors at the VP's official residence in D.C. Also, Pence's choice of a political operative as his chief of staff, and a top aide who told a critical Indiana donor that the VP was in fact preparing for a 2020 race if there's an opening, which means if the president does not or cannot run. Pence responding in unusually forceful terms, releasing this statement. Today's article from the New York Times is disgraceful and offensive to me, my family, and our entire team. The allegations in this article are categorically false and represent the latest attempt by the media to divide this administration. He added, whatever fake news may come our way, my entire team will continue to focus all our efforts to advance the president's agenda and see him reelected in 2020. Any suggestion otherwise is both laughable and absurd. But many saw that as Pence covering himself, at least when it comes to the president, who may have been the audience of one that statement was intended for. But still, the talk continues, especially as, in the words of John McCain, they, the other Republicans, see weakness in this president. Pence not the only other possible non-Trump Republican who could run in 20. Senators Tom Cotton of Arkansas and Ben Sasse of Nebraska both getting some play. Ohio Governor John Kasich might run in 2020 even if Trump is a candidate. And some are looking at Arizona Senator Jeff Flake's recent stand against the president as a possible first step towards his own possible campaign. Rich?
All right, Andrew, thank you very much. So what should we make of all this? Is this a real sign of weakness for the president, or is this just the latest version of the Never Trump movement some Republicans kept pushing for during the campaign but never materialized? For answers, let's bring our panel in now. Jeannie Zaino, professor of political science at Iona College and also a senior advisor at the consulting firm Applied Techonomics. Dominic Carter, political journalist and author. And you already met Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. All right, Jeannie, either you look at it as he doth protest too much here, or, you know, the Times unsourced putting this together. I should say this Times stands by their story, that a lot of people were saying that he was saying, listen, if he gets pushed early here, or if he chooses not to run, or if he's viewed as unelectable, I'm your guy. What do you think?
You know, I think it would be crazy if the vice president wasn't thinking, at least given everything that's going on with the investigations and everything else, and plus the president's age, quite frankly, that it's even a remote possibility the president may not run, whether he chooses to or not, that he needs to make sure his ducks are in order. So I think the Times is right here. That said, Republicans really need to say, dream on. Nobody would have won except for Donald Trump. Who on that list that Andrew just gave us, or the people who ran last time? Let's think about it. Ted Cruz came in number 2, but he came in number 2 last time, had no hopes of winning the Rust Belt. So Republicans have no hopes of winning this thing without a President Trump at the top of the ticket. The Electoral College absolutely doesn't support that unless there's vast changes in the next few years. So I think it is, you know, a dream, if nothing else, unless a Pence runs on Trump's coattails and is able to pick up where the president is sorely now lacking as these poll numbers continue to drop.
You know, that graphic that Andrew referenced, Ralph, for bringing it up, and Jeannie just talked about some of the different names on the Republican side. And the one thing, when people look at these names here and these faces about people who, you know, could theoretically be thinking about jumping in, Dominic, the one guy on that list that can't offend the president is the first one on it, Mike Pence, because you know, all the other guys can say, governor of Ohio, he doesn't need the president. Sure, he maybe messes with him in terms of funding for the state. The other senators, a couple of them have already, you know, one wrote a book basically going after Trump, and the other one did the same largely. I'm talking about Flake and Sass. Cotton, he's already, you know, poked the bear a few times. Pence can't nowhere to run, you know, so you mess with this president right now, he'll make his life awful. And he also is, last time I checked, not a guy who likes to share the spotlight. So the idea that somebody would be going after Republican donors from his administration.
Well, of course, the Times story is accurate, Richard. The vice president had no other choice than to issue a statement denouncing the story, even though he knows that he's looking at the possibility. He's floating in a very quiet way. As all candidates do, often number 2, the vice president. Pence would be stupid not to look at the possibility, given what's going on. And notice he's not out there as much as he was defending the president.
And reportedly, Andrew, to Dom's point, the FaceTime that he had with the president, I'm talking about the VP, of course, in the first couple months, significantly waned. The other thing is we talk about all these different agencies in this administration that are either unstaffed without even nominating, let alone without confirmations. The one that's got the most robust office is the vice president. And as you said, with the political operative right at the top of that food chain. And then finally, the sum of the people that he was meeting with, representatives from the Koch brothers, the head of the families, whatever, Perkins' outfit, right? Which is really big with the Christian Coalition types. You don't do that at this early part of the game, you know, unless you're planting a seed, I think.
You know, there's enough plausible deniability in there for Mike Pence that he can turn around to Donald Trump and say, like, no, I'm not meeting with Tony Perkins and the Koch brothers because I'm thinking about my own run. I'm solidifying your Christian conservative base. Remember, Mike Pence is supposed to be Trump's conduit to the Christian conservative right. That's the good news, and so he needs to bridge those connections, and he can say he's doing it for the benefit of the administration. His other job was supposed to be the conduit to the Hill, and that has not gone so well.
And he hasn't really, to Andrew's point, on health care, and if he maybe did some nominative work here, but he wasn't exactly, you know, working and twisting arms here to get votes, Jeannie. John McCain, who sometimes is the truth teller, a little separated because what's he afraid of the president at this point? He called the president very weak. And what was notable to me last week before they left was how many were willing to break ranks with him on health care, on immigration cutbacks for legal immigrants, certainly as it relates to the president, and to have you know, Bob Mueller being bulletproof for the president can't go after him. Republican after Republican were more than happy to break ranks with him without fear of reprisal, which is stunning 200 days into an administration.
Absolutely, a huge sign of weakness for the president. And you're absolutely right, whether it's Mike Pence or whether it's Reince Priebus, these people that were brought in to help the President navigate the Hill have utterly failed because he's passed not one piece of significant legislation. So he is in a very weak position, and these defections, I suspect, will get worse as the summer break rolls on and you find congressmen and women going out to these town hall meetings and finding that people are not happy with the president. And we heard from Susan Collins and others that this has been happening. That said, am I the only one who thinks that Mike Pence is utterly unelectable at this point nationwide? Who is going to support Mike Pence?
You're right, except for one point. If I'm a Republican right now and I'm going back home to Arkansas, or I'm going back home to Tennessee, or I'm going to one of these red states, even if Mike Pence is the head of my party, I would take Mike Pence over Donald Trump. Forget about whether he wins in 20 or not. Somebody's got to stabilize things right now. And if Donald Trump said, I've had it, I'm staying in Bedminster, I'm not coming back to Washington, I think some of them were doing the fun bunch right now.
I hear people talk and they say they think Mike Pence is more dangerous than Donald Trump.
If you're a moderate. Donald Trump has no political core or principle. Mike Pence really believes in what he's saying. Now, the public, a lot of them, certainly in our region, may not like that. That all said, I just had to think when Mike Pence woke up and he saw the paper and he said, oh my God. And the call that he must have had with Donald Trump, that must have been entertaining as all get out. All right, coming up next, the latest on that Russia probe as Mueller's investigation even widens further. Plus, in yet another tweet storm, the president picks on a good friend of the program, Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal, over Vietnam. We'll tell you what he wrote, and we'll also try to set the record straight on both of their military records. Stay with us.